Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope the weekend is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. And why shouldn't it be? Because it is a good weekend. First time in a while we've been able to say that in the Premier League for Arsenal. That 3-0 win yesterday at the Emirates against Nottingham Forest, ending a 4-game run without a win in the league and getting Arsenal back on track, you will hope. Anyway, certainly a nice momentum builder going into a crucial run of games. Obviously, I did do my sort of immediate post-match reaction from the press box at the Emirates yesterday with my player ratings. I will go over my ratings a little bit later on again today, but going to talk about the big talking points from the game, look at what Mikel Arteta has been having to say, some interesting stuff about Nwaneri after just a huge day for him, obviously becoming Arsenal's second youngest ever Premier League goal scorer, rounding off the win with that third goal. We're going to talk about Bukayo Saka as well. I thought Arteta was interested on him, and on Martin Odegaard. What an impact. How good is it to have the skipper back? That is the difference that he makes to this Arsenal team. Got lots of reaction from you guys to the win as well. And why not? Because it was a really good win, wasn't it? We've had some really difficult afternoons so far this season watching Arsenal. The wins, even the wins we've had, have kind of been nervy, and there's always been a bit of jeopardy in the game. Just to have a nice 3-0 victory, being able to sort of breathe easily for the last 10 minutes, not have to worry about a late equaliser or anything like that. It's always felt on a knife edge so far this season, pretty much every single game. Yesterday was the first time when you could really relax and enjoy the victory. And it was a good one. I think it was probably Arsenal's best performance of the season. First half wise, I think that 45 minutes was definitely Arsenal's best 45 minutes of the season, even though it was only 1-0 at half time. I thought they were absolutely excellent. And then they sort of built on that in the second half, maybe not quite as dominant, even though 2 goals came in the second half. Then, the one sort of thing you could say after the first half was the fact that Bukayo Saka's brilliant goal was the only thing Arsenal had to show for it. That wasn't enough for their dominance. They should really have been 3 or 4-0 up at half time. Such was their control of the game and some of the chances they created. But they did go on in the second half, kick on and get that win. Thomas Partey, of course, coming off the bench, scoring a beautiful goal to make it 2-0, and then Nwaneri getting the third late on. And as I said, I just thought it was the best performance of the season from Arsenal all round. I thought they were balanced. I mean, the team selection was bold from Mikel. None of us were expecting that. Let's face it, when we got to the Emirates yesterday, I was not expecting to see Rice on the bench, Partey on the bench, Havertz on the bench, Martinelli on the bench. Mikel made some big calls in that game. Sort of judging by what he had to say in the press conference afterwards, I think certainly some of the impact that the players who he's been working with over the last fortnight at London Colney, some of the ones who didn't go away on international duty, I think sort of forced his hand. Clearly, he's been pretty impressed by how some of them have been working and wanted to reward them with a starting place on Saturday. Of course, there is the Sporting Club de Portugal game to come in midweek as well on Tuesday. So it's a bit of a short turnaround. So maybe that was in his thinking a little bit. But the team he did select, it just had a really nice balance to it. I thought Marino and Trossard over on the left, especially in that first half, worked really well together. Obviously, Saka and Odegaard having that connection back just makes the world of difference to this Arsenal team. They just look completely different when you've got Odegaard in that position and he can just link up with Saka. And I thought Timber played his part down that right-hand side as well. I thought he was very, very good. And it just led to a really dominant performance. Nottingham Forest were constantly penned in. Arsenal always had the ball. They were always pressing for the goal. When they turned the ball over high, got themselves other shooting opportunities. And like I said, the fact that they were only leading 1-0 was the only disappointment at halftime. It was a brilliant goal from Saka. It was a lovely little ball from Odegaard to play him in, but then Saka did it all his own work. I thought Jorginho, who again, I just thought that performance in the first 45 minutes before he went off, understandably so because of the yellow card, it just made it even more baffling that we haven't seen anywhere near as much as Jorginho so far this season. I know Partey's been playing well, but I still feel like Jorginho's been underused. You can rotate them a little bit more. Just get Jorginho on the pitch a little bit more, because when he's on the pitch, Arsenal just play very, very well. They did it last season when he came into that team. It sparked the sort of that unbelievable run that Arsenal went on, and he just controls the game. Arsenal just looks so much more controlled when he's on the pitch. And I thought he was fantastic in that first half. And then Thomas Partey came on, was fantastic in the second half. And that's what you want, isn't it? You want that competition for places. And, competition just drives everyone on. Again, we'll get to Mikel Arteta's comments after the match in a little bit. But I thought they were really interesting when he talks about the competition in training and the amount of players he's now suddenly got available to him for the first time this season, and what a difference that makes in terms of the competition and the levels of training and how that can sort of transfer itself onto the pitch. When you look at the stats there from Arsenal, it was a dominant game. Obviously, 19 shots, 7 to Forest. Forest didn't have a single shot on target in the game. It's just absolutely dominant. 66% possession for Arsenal. Double the amount of passes. The field tilt there, heavily weighted in Arsenal's favour. 62 final third entries to 29. This is the sort of performance that Mikel Arteta would have been hoping for and would have been wanting since the start of the season. This was much more like the Arsenal of last season. First time we've really been able to say that. And it's no coincidence, is it, that when Arsenal get their players back and they can field a team that is settled and players playing in their proper positions, that Arsenal just look better. We know this team is a very, very good team. We know they're one of the best teams certainly in the Premier League, but in Europe as well. When everyone's on the pitch, they've shown that over the last 2 seasons, but they just haven't had the players on the pitch, and that has impacted their performances. And when they have, in some of those games, they've had players sent off, obviously, and it's just been a massively disrupted start of season. If you can get some consistency in this team, in availability, you're going to see a completely different Arsenal team this season. I'm absolutely convinced of it. And yesterday's game just kind of rammed that home to me even more. Really, it's just it was just really, really dominant. Mikel, obviously, after the game, said he was really happy, sensed great energy in the last 48 hours. The way everybody came back, I sensed a great togetherness and decided to change the situation, go through what's been a different period for us with all the situations we've had to come across. Straight away from the beginning, it was dominant, enthusiasm about it. That's what I demand when we score a goal. It should have been another 2 or 3 in the first half. The fact it was a total effort of the team because other players had to come in. I had to take Georgie out because of the yellow card. Thomas comes in, impacts the team, scores a goal. Raheem comes in, makes an assist. Ethan comes in and scores a goal. That gives you a different kind of dominance. Jakob comes on and gets some minutes in his legs. You don't play Thomas, you don't play Declan, you don't play Martinelli, you don't play Kai Havertz, and there's always the question mark, is it right or is it wrong? But I felt, because I think the team needed it, that they all feel important and have a real chance. Some of the players, the way they trained while we were here was unbelievable. On the different energy in the team, he said, I sensed a very different energy in 48 hours before the match. Straight away, there was something that you mentioned, something else that was different. What happened was that instead of 12 or 13 players, we trained with 19 for the first time in 6 weeks. Suddenly, you were like, wow, the competitiveness, the level, the quality, the understanding, the competition, everything raises. And that's what we need every single day. Train at that level, and that's down to the availability of a lot of players. They have not been able to do that. When that happens, the level will raise for sure. I thought those bits at the end there were really, really interesting from Arteta, because it just makes sense, doesn't it? When you've only been playing or training with 12 senior players, and the rest of that sort of first team group has been made up of youngsters drafted in from the under 21s. They've all done a really good job, those players, I'm sure, in training the under 21s, but they're not international footballers of the highest level like the rest of this Arsenal team are. When you suddenly bring that lot back to the group and the under 21s go back to training with the under 21s, just suddenly the competitiveness in training, that level that Arteta demands so much in training, just suddenly hits that height again. And that's going to bring more out of the players. It's going to raise their level throughout the game, throughout the week. And that's what you would think is going to raise their level at the weekend as well. I thought it was really interesting comments from Mikel there on the importance of having some of those players available to him in training. Obviously, it was a really, really sort of special day for Ethan Nwaneri. It was a lovely way to cap what had been a really good afternoon for Arsenal yesterday. He just made such a big impact. It wasn't just the goal. It was that moment before the goal when he just dropped the shoulder, did the step over, beat his man and curled that shot to the far corner. As soon as he came on, he just wanted to make an impact. And that's what we've seen from Ethan all season. Whenever he's on the pitch, he wants to make an impact. And more often than not, he does make an impact. He's a special, special talent. You can see that. Arteta was asked, as you can imagine, a lot about him in the press conference, and his response was quite telling, I think, and quite interesting again. He says, what I like is when he comes on in that contest, the first thing he does is take a touch, run forward, run past 2 players, put it inches away from the post. I understand that I'm responsible for him, and you have to do that brick by brick. Today, he put another brick in. Now we have to put the cement, make sure he doesn't get dry so that he can put another one on and another one on, and another one is going to stick. Then we have to put another layer on. We want to put 5 in a row. Believe me, it won't work. We have to manage it with the expectations and his load as well, which is really important. So he's basically saying, yes, I am holding him back. I know I'm holding him back, but I'm doing it for a reason. And ultimately, we can all sit here, and I've done it. I've been saying he should have started, and I still think he should have started some games, and Arteta's missed an opportunity. But ultimately, we're the ones sitting here, and it's very easy for us to say it. I can sit here and say it onto this camera. You guys can agree with it. You can say it in the comments that he wants more minutes. Mikel's the guy who's actually basically looking after Ethan Nwaneri. He's the guy who's managing him. And to be honest, he does know best compared to us. As much as we like to think that we know best, Mikel Arteta certainly does know best. He's the one who's got the players' interest in heart. He's the one who's got all the data available to him. He's the one that probably is getting the data from sports science, and him and his coaching staff are looking at it and thinking, what, we don't want to load this kid up too much. He's only 17. We've got to respect his body, which is still growing, and it is. He's not like a 24-year-old, 25 whose body's who feels comfortable in his body. And Nwaneri's still growing, and you've got to take that into account as well. So, I mean, they are the experts at the end of the day. And as much as it can be frustrating for us sitting here, want to see more of this talented kid, because when he is on the pitch, he makes such a big impact. They're the ones who have to look after him. They're the ones who have to map out his career for him and are responsible for him. And I thought that was quite interesting, the way Mikel Arteta put that when he was asked, on him not starting more games, especially when Odegaard was out. He said, look, I'm always tempted. I think he's the second youngest player to score a goal for the club in the Premier League. It gives us all a reason, and today is another reason to put him there. But that's when I play him and not somebody else. It's step by step. And then on managing expectations, he says, something I cannot do myself. I cannot manage expectations. I will try to educate him, raise him, and give him the pathway that we believe is the best. His family, his agent, his friends, that will be very important as well. Don't listen too much to the noise. Focus on what he does, which is to play football and love every single minute of it. And good things will happen for sure. I mean, to be honest, he's played miles more than I thought he was going to play at the start of the season already. I would never have predicted Ethan would have had this amount of minutes and would have scored 4 goals in all competitions already before the end of November this season. Again, I'm not saying that I don't think Arteta has missed a trick, because I do. I still feel there was chances to start him in the Premier League that he didn't take in Odegaard's absence, and I think he could have helped the team in Odegaard's absence. But I do think we have to sit here and respect the fact that the coaching staff, Arteta, that everyone are responsible for this young lad's career. And if the way they're doing it, think is best, maybe it is. Well, it probably is, and he is still having a very, very good season, and it's great to see. So, yeah, it was a really special day for him. I loved that moment at the end, the chant, one of our own. They could see what it meant to him as well. It's just a really great moment and capped what was an excellent day for Arsenal. On Bukayo Saka, I thought Arteta was a very defiant message from Arteta, wasn't it? Afterwards, when he was asked about Saka's playing so well, even though he pulled out of England duty with injury. And Mikel, I love this line when he just said, "We can send you the MRI scan." It's very simple. That's a communication. It was very clear between the medical staff of Arsenal and the national team. He hasn't done anything. He was away and he needed time to heal, and he had one training session. It was just a real sort of, he just wasn't even going to entertain the conversation in that press conference, which is great as well. I think it's absolutely the right thing, because I knew it was going to come. You knew there was going to be an outrage if Saka started and played well. Same with Cole Palmer at Chelsea as well, who started and played the whole game, I think, in that win against Leicester for them. There was always going to be outrage from some people with it, but I thought Arteta was really good at it. It's like, look, we've got just look at his MRI scan. We can send it to you if you want. And he's had one training session. He was brilliant yesterday. And that partnership with Odegaard is just so influential and integral to Arsenal play. He said that's chemistry. Sometimes you meet somebody and straight away you make eye contact, something close. And with those two, it happened. Off the field, it happens on the field. And with many others as well. Something that in football, it is difficult to say, but when you put them together in the right spaces, close to each other, things flourish and things happen naturally. And with others, you try and force it and it doesn't work. With these two, we are very lucky to have them. And that partnership on the pitch, we've seen it over the last few years, how it's built. Him, Odegaard, Saka, Odegaard, White, that partnership, how good it's been for Arsenal. But Saka clearly has missed Odegaard, which is not surprising. He's a world-class player, absolutely world-class player, Martin Odegaard. I will argue that to the death. I don't understand how anyone can question it. Just look at his numbers, look at what he does, look at how influential he is in this Arsenal team. He is world-class. He's one of the best playmakers on this planet. You take him out of this Arsenal team and they are much, much weaker, because that's how good he is. It's the same with Man City. Look what happened with Man City. Rodri, world-class, one of the, in my mind, the best midfielder in his position in the league. Take him out that Manchester City team. It is a completely different kettle of fish, completely different prospect facing that Man City team with Rodri and without Rodri. And it's very similar with Martin Odegaard. When you've got a player who's that good and that influential, the team is just very different. And it's when Bukayo Saka just missed him, because that understanding is so good, so telepathic, as we saw yesterday. The little knocks around the corner, the little runs, the drop of the shoulders, each of them know exactly what the other is going to do. And you could just see that yesterday and how important it was for Arsenal. And I thought Timber, as I said at the start, played his part, because he was very, very good in it as well. It was just a joy to watch yesterday, Martin Odegaard. Absolute joy to watch. I loved him, especially in the first half. You could see he tired in the second half. First half, he was just unplayable. Okay, here are my player ratings for yesterday. I know a few of you have argued the fact that I gave David Raya a 6, and I can understand that. I mean, but I just thought he was good, David Raya, and 6 is good mark for me. That is good, and he did everything that you would expect David Raya to do. Because he's such a good goalkeeper and he's so good with his feet, so good with his come and claim crosses, and he did that perfectly. He did it very well. So it was a 6. It was a good performance from David Raya. Didn't have a save to make, obviously, so that's why I gave him a 6. Timber, I gave an 8. I thought it was really, really good. Timber, excellent. I think he's so important. You've got to keep Timber fit now, especially with Ben White out. It's so important, because if Timber's not fit and then you have to play Partey at right back, it unbalances the team and it takes away so much going forward, because Timber offers so much out of that right-hand side, as we saw yesterday. It's absolutely essential Arsenal do all they can to keep him fit while Ben White and Tomiyasu are injured. Gave him an 8. The rest of the back four I gave a 7. Great to see Calafiori back. Jorginho only played 45 minutes, but I thought he was brilliant in that first half. 8 for him. Odegaard 9. Marino 7. Trossard 7. I did like, especially in the first half, that link up between Trossard and Marino. I thought they gave a real balance to that left-hand side. Saka gave a 9. Just brilliant. What more can you say about Saka? Jesus got a 6. I thought Jesus, especially in the first half, was good, very good. He was influential in a lot of the good things that Arsenal did. Some of the link-up play with him, Saka, Odegaard, there were some really nice touches. I thought that was really positive. He faded a little bit in the second half. Gabriel Jesus, it would have been nice if he'd got himself a goal. Obviously, he went close in the first half, but I thought it was a good performance. I saw him coming in for a bit of grief after the game, which I thought was a bit harsh. Yes, he needs to start scoring and he needs to start contributing by putting the ball in the net, because that's his role in the team. But performance-wise, I thought it was a fine performance from Jesus yesterday. So I gave him a 6. Partey, superb when he came on. And that's what I'm saying. When that's why I just think you should utilize Jorginho more, because you don't want to run Partey into the ground. So you can play Jorginho, you can play Partey. Rice wasn't fit enough to play yesterday. So he didn't even come off the bench. But he's coming back into it. You can have those players, you just rotate them, give them all minutes, because they're all so good and they can all be so important. I think that rotating is going to be so key for Arsenal over the coming weeks. Partey, great goal, brilliant. Gave him an 8 as well. Zinchenko came on. Good to see him get a proper sort of significant amount of minutes. Sterling, good assist for him. That'll hopefully do in the world of good. Nwaneri, obviously superb when he came on, got his goal as well. So those are my ratings for yesterday's game. Right, moving on to what you guys have been saying before we wrap this one up today. Owen says Arteta needs to shuffle the team more to surprise our opponents. Keep changing for better performances. That's just what I was saying there with the midfielders. Keep this rotation going now. I thought it was, it surprised the hell out of me when I got there and saw the starting lineup yesterday. But it worked and it was a good thing. And I bet it surprised Nottingham Forest as well. They weren't expecting that lineup. And that's what you want to do. You don't want to just have that same starting 11 all the time. The fact Arsenal have built this squad up, which is a very strong squad, you want to use that team, use it all, make sure they all get minutes, make sure they all feel involved. And so when they do come on, they can make an impact. So I agree. I think it's a good point. Zar says, the thing I loved about Ethan's goal was Sterling's direct running, that he read the instinctive finish to get into the box. There is no way he should be loaned out. He'll get minutes to build his tolerance up to games. It seems similar to how Foden was eased into the first team. Yeah, there's definitely similarities with how Arteta is handling Nwaneri at the moment, with how Guardiola handled Foden. Definitely. It reminded me of Charlie Patino's goal yesterday, Ethan's one. Remember Charlie Patino when he came on and scored that goal in his debut against I can't even remember who it was. It was in a League Cup game, wasn't it? Arsenal won 5-0. I think. Can't remember who that was that Patino scored. But yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the finish, certainly. And it was a great moment. And yeah, he will get minutes. And yeah, I agree. I don't think he should be loaned out as well. Elizabeth said, back to winning ways. Martin is truly one of my favourites. He's the captain, keeping everything moving. The goal by Saka was incredible. Looking forward. Really hope we can go on a proper run now through the year and reassess where we are. On PL commentary, they said, right, left backs are a cursed position for Arsenal with all the injuries to various players. Can't believe I never realised that. Hope Ben has a smooth recovery so we can rotate. Yeah, getting Ben White back is so important to Arsenal. So Timber has the opportunity to come out of some games. LGWE says, wow, guys, it's almost as if having your best players available makes a difference. Absolutely agree with that. Sean that says, our best game so far in terms of qualities and results. Dean says, how good is Jorginho? Doesn't play yet never misses a beat. Agreed. Such a good, clever player. John says, watching the Arteta press conference and what he says makes me happy, especially about the fact that they were training with 19 players and what the competition does for improving the desire and quality of the whole squad, especially with players with doubts over them. I think that environment, plus the multitude of contributions to this game from those players, will help raise the level get these players as excited as possible to be in this team. Yeah, I think it will do everyone the world of good. Those squad players will feel, Sterling, for example, coming on, getting that assist, just make him feel so much more confidence coming onto the pitch in the future. So moments like that, Jorginho getting that game time and playing very well. Trossard, who I thought was good yesterday, was his best performance in a long time. I thought Trossard on that left-hand side. Lewis says, don't think anyone deserves below a 7 today. Absolutely complete team performance. And Arteta got to get a 10. Trusted the squad today. Valuable minutes to players and a 3-0 win. And Alfred says, totally agree with your comments on Jorginho, Charles. His intelligence and positioning makes a huge difference. So that's just some of what you guys were saying in response to yesterday's win. And what a great win it was. Nice to sit here positively on a Sunday, isn't it? And talking about a good win, 3 goals, clean sheet, 3 points. Arsenal are back. Long may that continue. Fingers crossed this run can now get going and Arsenal can have an excellent few weeks leading up to the festive period. Right, that's it. I'm off to take my kids around Legoland now during Storm Bert. So hopefully it's open and we don't get swept off any of the rides. Have a great Sunday, whatever you're up to today. Sit back, enjoy the football if that's what you're going to be doing. If you're with your family, have a great time. And I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Speak to you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.